Jeff, how did the guys come out in practice today?
They're unbelievable. They're amazing. They're the best group of kids you ever coach in your life. And, they've been through it all. And they just keep showing up, smiles on their faces. They bust their butt. They work hard. And I hurt for them deeply. That's why you see such a disgust, look and how I sound and feel. It's for my kids. And, I hurt for them badly, but they were fantastic today.
Jeff, what's changed for Chris Carpenter to get more involved in the passing game in the conference season as the year's gone on? It seems like he's kind of emerging.
Well, obviously we don't have any receivers left, so he's got to play. But he's worked his tail off. He's a freaking wonderful kid. He's stayed healthy this year, thank the Lord. He's carried a lot of the weight. Our original plan was for him not to be like 1A. It wouldn't be. He was going to be a role player and a return guy and be involved in the game. But out of necessity, he's had to step up, and he's done that and more.
He's one of the guys where it's kind of like Owen. He made some big plays, but then because of the way the game turned out, the drop gets magnified. How do you, as a team, sort of balance celebrating the small victories versus working to improve on the other stuff?
No, we don't talk about that drop. We'll let you guys talk about that.
Jeff, what got a very talented Memphis team coming in this week. What are some of the things they do well?
They're really talented. I would say so far in all the talent assessment we've done, other than the University of Texas, they're up there with Texas State as far as the number of great players we've starred. They're a lot like Texas State again, and they're very senior driven. There's senior players that have played for him a long time in all areas: quarterback, running back, O-line. They're deep. They're talented. They've done a really good job of identifying the talent and going and getting the talent.
Jeff, you mentioned how critical Ken Robinson...
And coaching that talent. Ryan's done a really good job.
You've mentioned how critical Ken Robinson's been to communication on defense this year. With him out, how has Elliott kind of taken that on? How has that dynamic changed back there?
No, he's just going to have to. That's just part of it. And of course, that moves him to another position, another kid playing another position, and then two new corners. So that was a lot in the end of that game. But at least when you get injured during the game, it's harder. At least you have the week to prepare. So we'll be better because we'll know who the four are going to be, and they'll get to work all week. You just pray all of them don't get hurt again at the same time. I don't know what we'll do.
So Elliott slides over to the other safety spot that Ken was in as a result of it?
Correct.
Is there more pressure on him with the amount of injuries back there? Does he have to sort of cover other things in the secondary, or how does he handle that individually?
He's just got to communicate and lead the group. That's what he has to do. He's got to assume Ken's role, which he assumed Rashad's role.
Jeff, how's the health of the O-line this week? Is it about the same?
Yeah, we're about the same. We're gimped up in 3 spots. The other 2 guys are pretty healthy. The other 3, they'll push through like they always do.
Jeff, looking at Memphis, I know they have that big NIL deal they announced before the beginning of the season. How much of it is a disadvantage when you guys are going head-to-head this week? Like, how real is the difference here?
Well, there's a reason there's a movie about Moneyball, because it's an anomaly, right? We have 1/10 of their recruiting budget for a roster, and that's a tremendous disadvantage. There's a lot of those kids on that roster that we recruited and have good relationships with, and we couldn't get them. And the truth, and nobody wants to talk about it anymore, is of course the coach matters, of course relationships matter, facilities matter, the city matters, winning matters, but at the end of the day, people vote with their pocketbook, and young men aren't much different than old men. That matters in the end, and I don't want to put the exact number out there because I just don't want to get that specific, but it's 6 times more than what our roster is.
So we've talked about this, Coach, so many times, but when you talk about that $5 million year deal that they have with FedEx, and then fans go on social media sites and bitch about the outcome, is it really as simple as, okay, then everybody has to, if you really want to change this thing, and not have the players we're after go to Memphis. We've got to step up and give to the collective. Is that really as simple as it gets?
As I said earlier, there's still a responsibility on me to coach better. There's a responsibility to still have facilities, which we have. There's a responsibility to have a great city, which we have. There's a responsibility to have a great university, which we have. But at the end of the day, if you don't have, if you've got 500,000, and so FedEx is giving them 5, I don't know exactly what they're giving to football. I'm not privy to that information, but let's just say 3, which is what I've heard. Well, that's a pretty drastic difference, right? The exciting part of all this is if the court case gets settled, which it sounds like it's going to, in July of 25, the schools can assume that role from then on, and so much pressure won't be on the collectives anymore. There will still be collectives, but it won't have the pressure. It'll be more of, okay, the university has to decide facilities, operations, scholarships, roster management. That's going to be the buckets now if everything gets settled, which is supposed to July 2025.
All right,
So
with
that would be a major win for this program.
Dr. Campos has said to me that we are going to be in the revenue sharing. She has said that. I know there is planning going on what that looks like, how much that will be, where that money will come from. And I know that presidents, ADs, commissioners across the country are having those meetings trying to get a more specific plan, because we are currently recruiting kids that are going to be playing in July of 2025. But yet nobody really knows what to tell the kids right now. All we have right now for sure is what our collective is right now, which I have communicated with you is probably 6 times less than what we're playing this weekend. And so everybody can get mad at me all they want to. I'm just telling you what the way the game's played right now. And yes, it is my fault we're 3-5. I'm not blaming anybody else. It is Jeff Traylor's fault we're 3-5. No one else's.
Is everybody though looking at maybe successful programs? Because you got the Horseshoe Collective going on at Boise. That seems to be doing very, very well up there. Is everybody here at UTSA already, you said that they're putting in the plan. How far out is that being discussed right now with all of the coaches here at UTSA? Is that something that is actually going to get done as soon as that law comes down, or the judgment comes down?
Dr. Campos has told me that we are going to participate in the revenue sharing. They are planning, and obviously fundraising is going to be big. Where does that money come from? How much is that money going to be? Obviously, me going 3-5 isn't helping because ticket sales are down. All of our suites have been sold out forever. What if that goes away? If we don't get to winning again, that's going to hurt us because we're going. What I like is now, like, we're all going to be on the same team again. Like, all of our fundraising people will be fundraising for all of this, where it's not just me out here raising money with a collective and fundraising over here. It's almost like they've separated us. Now, when the court case is up completely done, July 25, we're all on the same team again. Not that me and Ashley and Brendan have been, or Carl have not been on the same team. It's just been awkward, to say the least.
Jeff, what happened to Oscar Saturday? How's his status going forward?
He got hurt on the touchdown.
That's been a weird trend this year of guys getting hurt on touchdowns. What's been the reaction to that? It's just something you don't see often.
You should go down the 1-inch line, I guess, and let the next guy score. I mean, it's the 6th one that's been injured on a touchdown.
Which almost kind of goes back to what I asked last week. These injuries keep piling up. It's
too many to ignore now, to be very honest with you. And we've talked about it, and we got to do a deep dive on what is that. And there's only a couple of things it can be. It's nutrition and it's strength staff. And those are things that we have to look at.
Can it also be something that these athletes have become so big and so strong that the human body might not be able to handle this? So do we need to start looking outside the box as far as how can we build these knees stronger, get them stronger, so that we're not basically losing half a freaking team during the course of a season?
Yeah, I think you'd have to get into some data studying to see where we are statistically compared to everybody else. There'll have to be a real deep dive into that, to be honest with you. But I've been super, super careful. We've invested. We used to be the Titan data, which was a cheaper version of how to monitor your kids, and we've gone to the Catapult now, which is the nicest there is, to get real information on our kids, to make sure we're not working them too hard, to make sure they're in their prime and they're at practice every single day. So we've done a great job of that. So first you think, well, we're practicing them too hard. Then is it, are you not practicing them enough? And we've got data that shows we're right where we're supposed to be when it comes to training of athletes. I still think there's something there in the nutrition piece and the strength staff, where we've got to get those two things really addressed, in my opinion.
Jeff, why doesn't the football program have a nutritionist right now?
We don't have a full-time nutritionist. We have one that we share of the entire department, but he changed his professional plans about 12 weeks ago, and we've been searching for one since then.
Going back to the student-athlete revenue sharing, is there a number Dr. Campos has told you, or is there a floor? Or, like, what do you think needs to happen there?
Commissioner Pernetti is on record as saying there's going to be a floor in the AAC. Those presidents, those ADs will be meeting in November to decide what that floor is going to be. I'm obviously not privy to that information, but I'm sure when those people get through deciding and meeting on that, there'll be probably an announcement that if you're going to be in the AAC, you've got to revenue share at this level, or you're not going to be in the league, is what he is on record as saying.
Why are these coaches, why are you guys not involved in those discussions? You guys are the generals out there literally in the trenches with these guys. Why are you not part of these discussions?
I would imagine they would expect us to have a relationship good enough with our ADs that we could communicate to our ADs what we need, and that would get communicated to the presidents, which would then get communicated to the commissioner. That would be my assessment, Jack, but I don't know that factually.
Are you involved with UTSA? Are you involved in those meetings of what needs to be said to the commissioner?
Dr. Campos and I meet, very often. And President Amy and I and her are going to meet here before they go meet with them. And that's when I will share with them what I think we need to be successful here. And then that will get discussed at those meetings, I'm sure, with the AAC.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.